Hi, I'm Poppy Tooker. I want to share with you all today a little bit about what I'm doing for self-care these days, at least what works for me. You see, I wake up every morning thinking about what I'm going to have for dinner that night. It makes me happy. I usually have a plan before my feet hit the ground. And so I wanted to invite you all into the kitchen. I'm in Florida. I'm not in my home kitchen right now because I've fled New Orleans. And I'm going to show you all how to make a roux because so much New Orleans cooking, that heritage cooking that we all love, starts with first you make a roux. And so often I meet people who don't know how to do this. In fact, by the time we're done here, if this was smell-o-vision, you would be able to catch the delicious aromas, the scent of the roux, which I always think is like the good mother smell. When you smell that at home, you know that mom's in the kitchen and she's making something delicious to eat. So it doesn't matter, all the roux start off the same way. The first thing you have to choose is what cooking oil you're going to use. So my favorite cooking oil is bacon grease, but not everybody has some of that stashed in the fridge. So if you're not going to use the delicious, flavorful bacon grease, we're going to use just cooking oil. This is just Wesson canola oil, some light oil, and we're going to pour it into a pan. Now, you always want to make a roux in a skillet or a relatively low-sided pan because you don't want to get your hand down in that pot and run the chance of perhaps splashing a little roux up on you and getting a burn. That will definitely require even more self-care, and that's not what we're going for today. So now the oil is in the hot pot, and I know that the pan is already preheated, and so let's take a look. Now we're going to go look down in the pot, and you see there's the oil. It's hot. I'm even cooking on electric over here, which is really something I'm not accustomed to. But the whole point of this is having a routine that makes you happy. And the scents, the smells, being able to prepare something that will either be delicious and soothing to you or maybe your partner, your whole family, by providing that care to them, you may find you're taking care of yourself too. So now I'm going to tilt the screen so that everybody can see in the pot with me. And I've got oil in the pan. It's hot. I can catch a little sizzling. And I'm whisking in, this is just plain oil and plain flour. We'd never use self-rising flour to make a roux. That would be a real issue. It gets, I'm not even going to describe what happens in the pan when that goes on. So anyway, so now let me show you exactly where we're at. Because within just a couple of minutes, the roux will have cooked to a blonde roux stage. You see it's bubbling, and the blonde roux, you see, is, well, if you're thinking of making a little macaroni and cheese, you might make a cheese sauce with a blonde roux. It's that thick cream sauce. The base comes from the blonde roux. And so now, you'll be surprised, I think, how quickly this happens. Let's talk about what makes this so special. This is a little special time for you to just be alone in the kitchen. You and the roux stirring, and the roux is going to change colors. And while that's going on, you want to make sure that you have an onion. And I don't know if you can see this very well, but here we go. Here is an onion that I've chopped up. By the way, I chopped this onion in my food processor. I have had a long-going love affair with my food processor. I feel like using my food processor allows me to have a whole team working in the kitchen with me. And I love the fine quality by just using that pulse button. And that's another one of my great pleasures. But anyway, in all of our Louisiana cooking, first you make a roux and then you add your seasonings. Those usual seasonings that people refer to as the holy trinity of Creole cooking, actually that's just our Creole mirepoix. It's our seasoning vegetables, which are always, in Louisiana, celery, bell pepper, and onions. But the onion goes into everything. And that's why the onion is part of the secret trick. And that's the moment that I love the most, when the onions hit that hot roux. There's a delicious aroma that's going to come up out of the pan. And now I want to show you how quickly things are going on. Because you see, this isn't a roux that's going to take a long time. I don't know if you can tell, but what's going on in the pot is it almost appears like the roux is curdling, but it's not. The flour's cooking. It's starting to get a little brown. And here's another trick that you're going to want to know. Your pot, and you're doing this in a heavy pot, some sort of a good sturdy pot. You'd never use like a thin stainless steel pot for this, because those pots have hot spots, which will give the chance that maybe the roux could burn. So you see, here we go. It's all sort of cardboard colored now. And there's some people who think that around the color of cardboard is maybe the place to stop. But to me, the real essence is that dark Louisiana roux. And when the onions hit the pan, well, wait till you see what happens, because it's a magic trick. So food has always been a great love of mine. I like to cook it. I like to read about it. I like to write about it. I just like to think about it. These days, I'm always thinking about what's going on in my pantry and my refrigerator, because I'm trying to avoid as many trips to the store as possible. Okay, I got to show you. Ooh, you see there's a little smoke coming up, and the roux is starting to get a beautiful toasty brown. There you go. But this roux takes me right back to my great-grandmother's kitchen. And that is why I think that my number one self-help happens in the kitchen, happens with me and my pots and pans. Because when I was a small child, my great-grandmother taught me how to love people with food. And that's what I've been doing ever since. There's nothing like a wonderful home-cooked meal to make you feel good and make your family feel good too. Now, you see what's happening? Oh, the roux is changing color. And as I hold the pan up, you can see, even though it's not on the fire, it's continuing to change color. Now, what color are we going for here? We're going for about the color of dark chocolate brown. And remember, there's nothing more in here but flour and some oil. And there's no need to do this over a low heat. If it's just you in the kitchen with a pot, you should be able to pull this off over hot fire and get it done quick, quick, quick. We are now approaching the point when the roux is going to be ready. And in just a moment, I'm going to show you this. Once you have this basis, then you can make etouffees. You can make shrimp creole. This is the base for gumbo. It's the base for griots. No matter what it is you're cooking, the roux, the celery, bell pepper, and onions. And when you read those old recipes, they say, first you make a roux and then you add your seasonings. That would make you think you should throw all three seasonings in the pot at the same time. But you know what would happen? The bell pepper and the celery are very watery vegetables. And the onion has a lot of natural sugars in it. So we are about to see a magic trick happen. So here's the dark roux. You see, it's that milk chocolate brown that I was talking about. And now, Here comes that magic moment when we're going to add the onions to that hot roux. Now watch this. When the smoke clears, oh my goodness. See those sugars, the natural sugars in the onions are releasing themselves into the roux, and the roux is getting darker. It's getting down to sort of a bittersweet chocolate color. And so if what you're doing requires the celery and bell pepper too, once you see that color change, which is right about where we are now, with no additional heat, the pan itself was hot enough, now it would be safe to go ahead and add the celery and bell pepper. If you're making a Creole sauce, you can add some tomatoes and make it a little Creole. This is the good mother smell. This is exactly what I was talking about. And it's very funny with all the emphasis these days on aromatherapy. I have to say, my aromatherapy, it happens right here in the kitchen, whether it is the scent of a fresh caught trout just in off the boat. There's a sweet smell to a fresh caught trout. There's a wonderful, deep, sweet smell that comes from this beautiful roux with the onion in it. The delicious things that you can cook with that are boundless. And so if you have regarded the kitchen as a place of drudgery, if you have regarded cooking as an obligation, I challenge you to think about the nurturing nature of food and the way that you too can love people with your delicious food. No matter what it is, put it on the table, bring the family together, and everybody will be able to share in that self-care, because you're going to get such a wonderful feedback from everybody that you're feeding. So I hope everybody's well, and get in your kitchens, get into the kitchen and get happy, because there's a world of deliciousness waiting here for you. Thanks for watching this video. I hope you learned something, and I hope maybe I gave you that urge to go back in the kitchen with a whole new attitude and a great, great recipe on hand. Thanks.